How many of you have a startup? One? Okay, we have a few. Okay, good. Oh, good. Okay, good. All right, it's like these airplane things where it's like, this is going to Tulsa. I hope you want to go to Tulsa. This is Build Your Startup from the Heart. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple startups that I did. This is going to be very interactive, so you know, if you're thinking about falling asleep, don't. Or you can tell me when to wake you up, and I'll do that. So in about 1984, can you believe that? 1984, the time when that video or that movie from Apple was being shown, I was working on video editing at a company called Apollo Computer. Apollo Computer made engineering workstations, and actually early on back then had the concept of being able to get to any file anywhere in the world, which you know today is the URL. But actually, Apollo sort of invented that. But who cares about that, right? Because it's all changed now. I've been doing a lot of video editing for myself. I love photography, I love video. But the video editing was so hard to do. And so I was put in charge of the marketing of a product that was a 3D graphics workstation. Like, oh, this would be a test to see. Anybody ever heard of Silicon Graphics? Heard of these companies? Okay, well, Silicon Graphics made a product, and Apollo was going to compete with them. And I was the product manager for this thing, and we were just about to launch it, and I said to my boss, Mike, you know, we need a video for this product. And he didn't exactly say this, but it's kind of like, well, what's a video? Because like in those days, you know, video cassettes were new. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So he said, well, how much is it going to cost to do this? So I had looked it up. It cost $300 an hour to edit on a computerized editor in Boston. And I was like, that's what I need, because these editing things that I've been using are driving me crazy. So I got a $3,000 budget from Mike. I went downtown with my videos, and I said, here I am. I want to edit on your computerized editor. And I said, I want you to show me how to run it. And so they were like, really? OK. They sit me down at this thing. And the first sign that something was wrong was it had a green screen. All right, but OK. So they said, OK, well, hit P for play. I hit P, and the picture came up on the monitor, nice color picture on a different monitor. Starts playing. I say, hit spacebar for stop, spacebar. And then they say, hit R for rewind, hit rewind. And it starts going backwards. And I said, well, wait a minute, is there a tape deck on this? And they said, yeah, of course there's a tape deck. And I said, well, I thought this was a computerized editor. And they said, well, yeah, it's a computerized editor. And I said, yeah, but there's tape decks. It's going to take forever to get anywhere, to do anything. That's the same problem I have now. I don't have to spend $300 an hour for this. And I said, what good is it? And they said, well, it's frame accurate. You can accurately change your edits by a frame at a time. And I was like, oh, my God. So I actually did succeed in finishing the video. But I really had in my mind that you should be able to have an editing system that was like a word processor. Just do whatever you want. And I thought you could rent it for $300 an hour, but that wasn't true. So that was 1984. And I figured, well, somebody's going to do this any day. So that was 1985. And that was 1986. And that was 1987. And it turns out that by 1987, Apollo was making a video for everything that they did, every product launch. And I was involved with them. And so I was in the edit suite doing this, what was called linear editing. And they got more and more fancy with graphics and everything. And the editing was just horrible. And finally, I was sitting in an editing suite with this guy named Mark, who was the editor. And I finished the video that we were working on. I said, Mark, that's it. I'm not coming back. I'm never coming back. And I decided that I knew enough at that point to make a digital editing system. So in the summer of 1987, I quit my job. I started Avid Technology. really not knowing exactly how to make one of these things, but sort of having enough of a sense of what to do. And in the back of my mind, I had this belief in my head, which, so yeah, I guess I was trying to close that section, but I think it's enough people that we probably have to keep it open. So for those of you who moved, you can move back now if you want. But I'm going to go with the flow. It's all right. It's all right. You can sit down. I was trying to like compress it here, but all right. I'll give the guys who moved $20. No. All right. So in the back of my mind was that I always wanted to start a company, and my belief was that my first company would be practice, and my second company would be the real company. And since I was coming up on the practice company, I wasn't too worried about how I was going to do it. So I didn't really know exactly how to do it, but I started it anyway, and I thought I could figure it out. And so we got going, and it really worked out well. I mean, we figured it out. But one of the things that I realized along the way is that what I decided was I didn't really know what I was doing. So what I would do is just kind of do what felt right. And that's all I could do. And that really worked. But I didn't realize that that's what really worked, because when it came time to do my second company, which is called Wildfire, by then I had raised, I don't know, $20 million. I had run, organization with vice presidents. I knew how to manage. When I started Avid, I had 6 months of management experience managing one guy named Saul. And after that, with Wildfire, I had the team. The company was up to about 100 people. And then I really thought, like, now I really know what I'm doing. But that other one, I was just, kind of winging it. And because that's all I could do, but now I know. So when I started Wildfire, I didn't realize that I actually was doing it much more from the head. And I didn't realize that I had done Avid so much from the heart, but I did. And what happened was I ended up building the product with Avid that I wanted to have, and that really the editors wanted to have. And with Wildfire, we built a really cool, interesting product. But what I realized is that my intention with Avid was I intend to help people tell their story. I wanted to make something that made it really easy to tell their story. And how would it do that? It'd be incredibly fast to get to your footage, really easy to edit it, had a timeline so you could understand the program. With Wildfire, I wanted to sort of solve the problem of, which is almost a solved problem today, like Facebook and Twitter and things solve this today. But back in 1967, when my brother, who I shared a room with, left for college, you barely ever talked after that. And I was looking for a way. Remember, Wildfire started in 1991, before the internet, before Skype, before all these things. Pretty much the only network around was the phone network. And so I had this idea that you could sense someone's presence, much like you do on Skype, where you can tell when they're available. And I wanted to make something that, the intention was I intend to help people feel closer together. And with Wildfire, what happened is we really kind of actually ended up using our heads to build a product that solved a problem for people that were on the road a lot, which was really about handling lots of phone calls and doing lots of stuff. And so one day I was talking to somebody who I mentioned Wildfire to, and he said, "Oh, Wildfire, I know Wildfire." And he said, "Whenever I get Wildfire, I hang up." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, when I get Wildfire, those people don't want to talk to me. They get it to screen people like me out." So he hangs up. So I realized at that moment, in sort of the harshest way, that I had actually, not only had I not fulfilled the intention, I intend to help people feel closer together, but I actually made a product that did the opposite. And I think that's an accomplishment in itself. Sometimes you try to do something, but you can't really succeed in doing the opposite. But I did. Wildfire we sold for a lot of money. I actually made about equal money on Avid and Wildfire as an entrepreneur. So I'm not claiming that from the heart is good and from the head is bad. You'll make more money from the heart or you'll make more money from the head. They're different. They are different ways of doing things. There are a lot of people who are very successful doing things from the head. There are a lot of people who are very successful doing things from the heart. What I'm here to talk to you about and to help teach is that the techniques for building something from the heart are different than the techniques for building something from the head. And I will posit the following, that from your kindergarten onward, you are mostly taught to follow your head. And from kindergarten onward, you seldom got taught how to follow your heart, how to use your heart in actually making things. All right, so that's what today is about. Most of it's going to be interactive. That concludes my lecture. Are there any questions? Yes?
Do you put the heart and the gut together?
Do I put the heart and the gut together? You know, that's a good question. As I think often you hear gut feel. So I think in a sense the heart is actually sort of maybe a broader thing, and the gut feel tends to be much more specific. And actually we'll talk about that later. I can either repeat them. You know, go ahead.
Yeah, what was your decision-making process in starting these companies? What questions did you ask yourself?
What was my decision-making process in starting these companies? What questions did I ask myself? See, and doesn't that indicate a from the head-ish kind of?
Well, you can also ask yourself.
Wait, go ahead and give her the mic, yeah.
Yeah, I think you also ask yourself questions from the gut that you respond to kind of instinctively or intuitively.
Well, see, actually, I would say that the thing that I see people, like very often people ask me questions about what should I do to be successful. They look, you know, they look at someone who's had some success, and what they want to do is say, okay, what's the secret? What should I do, you know, to be successful? And I have an answer that's actually very different than what you might expect. So what I want to do is, like, let's imagine that you were not given any particularly great tools to know the one path that would be successful. Let's say you didn't have that. But let's say that you were given actually remarkably good tools to know when something was not a good path. Remarkably good tools to know when something was not a good path, such that if you listened to that, you could eliminate every path that was not a good one. Then how would that work? What would happen if you had that?
It would be like the user experience nowadays, right?
It would be what?
Like the user experience nowadays.
Yeah, it'd be
People
like an app.
would give you constant feedback about why something is not working well or not easy to handle, or just like the feedback that you got from this customer who said he wouldn't use your device.
Right. So imagine, but here's an interesting thing. So can I interpret what you said? So what you said is, if you had this information, you could basically stick it into your head engine and you crunch on it, all right? And actually, I'm proposing to turn off the head engine and not crunch on it. What I'm proposing is, you have this engine. So you have this engine to know with remarkably high accuracy when something is not right, when something's not for you, when it's not for you. You have that, runs all the time. There's just one problem. A lot of the time you go, nah, you just ignore it. But think about this. Think about your life, and think about a time where you had this feeling that something wasn't going to be right, but you did it anyway. How often did it work out? Anybody? None? I mean, I can't think of a time where so that says it's pretty accurate. Now, why would people not listen to this? If they've got this incredibly accurate no engine that's running like for free, in the background it just goes no, 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 no. You know, like all these things, no, no, nope, 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 nope. Oh wait, yeah. Why wouldn't people listen to it? Why?
Well, first, it can become so habitual reflective and you say no when if you were paying attention, you would have said yes.
So you think the no engine somehow has a bug in it?
Yeah, sometimes.
So the no engine's gone crazy?
Yeah.
So I actually believe that when the no engine's going crazy, it ain't the no engine. It's your head, you know, sort of saying no. I think that one of the things I see that people get scared of is that they don't know when the yes is going to come along. And that there needs to be logic. They want logic to dictate. So there was a hand over here, yeah.
I'll speak for myself. I think I ignore the no engine or what the no signal's coming in when it's really not what I want to hear.
It's not when you want to hear it.
It's not what I want to hear, or I don't believe it. I just can't believe it. I don't recognize it as the truth that it is.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go on that. Don't recognize it as the truth that it is. I think that's a very interesting phrase. And what I'm going to argue is that we actually have remarkable ability to recognize the truth that is inside us, which is really kind of a good thing, right? You know, wouldn't it be kind of crummy if you didn't have that? But my belief is people do have that, and they're actually taught, for various reasons, not to pay attention. So part of my work is to get people to pay attention. So some of tonight is going to be exercises, all right? So the first thing that I just told you about this no engine really kind of makes it sound kind of bad. It's like this guy, so also body language, this guy's got his arms crossed. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? No, but he smiled, that's a good sign. But the arms crossed again, so we'll have to work on him. What's your name? What? Okay. All right, I didn't hear that. I got bad hearing anyway, so you have to make a sign and hold it up. All right, so I want to give you this exercise. And this is, and in fact, I'm going to use that truth concept that I believe this is an inner truth exercise. And that is, when you come upon something in a meeting or with other people where that doesn't feel right, you get that, it comes up as a no. But think about it a little bit and just, in a sense, soften it to that doesn't feel right to me. And say that in your head. So somebody says, we have to do this. And you don't go, you might hear no, and then you go, that doesn't feel right to me. Or you might say to yourself, I have to do this. That doesn't feel right to me. And ideally, if there's other people there, say it. That doesn't feel right to me. Now, what can they say? Yes, it does. It feels absolutely right to you, and I know it. Or, it has to feel right because it's the only way. No, they won't do it. And what will happen is, with one little statement, one little opening, you'll start to change the conversation from one of demanding, one of pushing, one of from the head, to one of softening and one of thinking and one of conversation. Because what are people really going to say? If I say to you, that doesn't feel right to me, what do you say?
Why not?
Why not? And then we talk about it. And that why not, even if you're in a challenge, even if you said, why not? It's still an opening to have a conversation. So that's, and when I started, in the middle of, or in the early days of Wildfire, I wanted to make a network. I wanted to make what is essentially Skype today. That's pretty much what I was wanting to do. And so I went to the VCs and I said, I need a network. I need a network of servers that are going to pick up phone calls. And when you, instead of just having somebody call to another number, they'll call the server will call the number, and then they're on the server. And so then we have presence. We can whisper in their ear, we can talk to them. There's all kinds of things we can do. So I said, so here's this network, and we're going to make a service. And so the VC said, is this a service? And I said, yes. And they said, no. We won't invest in a service. So I went to another VC, and they said, is this a service? And I said, yes. And they said, no. Service, yes, no. Service, yes, no. Service, yes, no. Times 6. And then I had a little conversation in my head that went like this, which I'm going to ask you not to do these, and I'm going to ask you to do it differently. But what I had in my head was, I said, no VC will ever invest in this service thing. Therefore, we must change to a box thing, because they'll invest in a box thing. So that's what went on in my head. I went to the rest of the team. I said, we need to switch to a box. They're not going to buy a service. We got to switch to a box, which we did. We took the same machine, which actually was a box, and instead of designing it to be networked together, we said, the hell with the networking together. We'll just sell it to companies. Well, there was just one problem. That completely ruined the whole concept. It was no longer going to be a network of anything. And we made ourselves think, well, we can network them together, and we'll get there to the networking later, and all that. But the second exercise here is to ask you to do something that I found is very successful, and I found it and thought it was very successful. And then I was reading the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. And in that, he has a whole chapter on this very thing. He was very enamored with the word perhaps. And he explained that instead of making declarative statements, he found that when he started with perhaps, he found he had a better conversation. And he found that he could influence people more. And if, in the rare case that he was wrong, the perhaps often saved him. So Ben and I consulted, and I told him I wanted to go with I believe that instead of perhaps. But you could use perhaps if you want. But I would say if you use the phrase I believe that in your head and in your conversations with other people, I'm asking you not to make declarative statements. Don't make declarative statements. I believe that making declarative statements is dangerous. Don't make declarative statements. I believe making declarative statements will put the other person ill at ease. Don't make declarative statements. Do you see the difference between them? Do you see how it's very, very different in your mind and in the other person's mind. And when you watch the ice skating Olympics and they're dancing together, they have to do it together. And when you're working with people, you need to do it together. And I believe a declarative statement is just like those dancers going, yeah. That's not going to work very well. Well, I believe it's not going to work very well. So, it's a simple thing. I believe that. I want some of you to do it. Somebody, volunteer? I believe that. Finish the sentence. Or anything. I believe that. I'm calling on people in 3, 2, 1, and you, go. I believe that.
I believe that this is a great seminar.
Oh, good. Okay, I believe that too. Thank you. All right, next to you. Right, hand the mic over. All right.
Yeah, I have to echo that. I believe that what you're saying is very wise.
Because me and Ben, I mean.
There you go, perhaps.
Right, perhaps, yeah. All right, behind you. Pass it back, pass it back. No, but seriously, just think about something even maybe related to your company. I believe that.
I believe now you've confused me.
Really? Okay, all right, good. I like confusion. Okay, no. What's the confusion?
The confusion is I was raised in a sales environment where the declaratives closed business.
Declarative what?
A declarative statement closed business. You need this.
Right. Yeah, and we're taught in a country that declarative statements are the only way to do it. Which, by the way, the United States is the best country in the world. I wonder how those other people in their countries feel about that. Do they all go, yeah, you know, they are. They just are. They make declarative statements better than we do. You know, in Belgium, we can't do that. In France, where do you come from originally?
My parents are from India.
India, well, we're the greatest country in the world, aren't we?
Sure.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. It works, doesn't it? But here's the reason I would say that declarative statements, I think, come from an era of sort of command and control and power and projection of power. And I think if you're trying to make the sale through a projection of power, maybe that's true. But what we're talking about here in building a startup is not a projection of power kind of interaction with people. And so I don't believe that other technique works that well, and I really have seen this work.
I believe you're right.
Okay, all right, cool. Okay, so I want someone to come up here because we're going to talk about your startup. Who wants to talk about their startup? Okay, come on up. And just remember, you're on YouTube. You're going to be like,
Seriously?
yeah.
No way.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to go sit back down.
No, don't worry. I was only kidding.
Oh, okay. I missed the beginning.
Those are just for my grandmother, those cameras. Okay, so, all right. Now, so tell me about your startup.
My startup is a service that parents can sign up for. And as soon as their baby is born, they can start receiving a monthly shipment of Montessori educational toys for their baby for that month. And it'll continue, and there'll be online, demos, linking up the parent community, access to child development experts. And when they're done with the toys, they can send it back to me, and I ship it to a family in need. It's called Monty Kids.
What's it called?
Monty Kids.
Monty Kids? All right, cool. So I want to use this as a way to introduce 3 concepts that I believe get to truth inside you. So one we already talked about is this, I believe that. Another technique we talked about was that doesn't feel right to me. Does it have that in both of those? There is a that, and that doesn't feel right to me. I believe that, yes. Okay, those 2 techniques. One sort of gets you to the negative, the other's positive, right? Positive belief. So belief is one key element. But there's another element, which is what I call intention, which I believe is people's ability to help other people. And I believe that there's an easy path to making things work, which is when you do it from intention, as opposed to from the head. From the head says there's a market for women, and they want Montessori, and they don't know how to get Montessori, so that's one thing. Based on intention, I think, comes more from a sense in yourself that this is a great way to help people in a certain way. What I'd like you to think about for a minute is to try another exercise around this project that you're doing and say, I said with Wildfire, I intend to help people feel closer together. All right? If you think about your intention with the people that you want to help, say that. And this is another one of these techniques. I intend to help people. It's 5 words. I intend to help people. But I believe it triggers the right side of your brain to answer. Sometimes the left side jumps in there, but we'll see. So if you could say those 5 words and then answer. I intend to help people, and actually say them. Don't just answer. Go ahead.
I intend to help people.
Go ahead. So start over. You want to do a whole sentence, right?
I intend to help parents play with their babies in an educational way.
Okay. All right. So have you ever said that before?
Not in those words.
Not quite those words, but it sounded a little bit like you tapped into one of the. But you said here they can be very simple. Play with their baby. So say that.
I intend to help parents play with their baby.
Right. A simple thing, right? I mean, one of the things that's really.
I want to help parents educate their baby, but I feel like people will be like, "What?"
So you want to say play?
Yeah. No, I want to say educate.
Well, let me hear how that sounds.
I intend to help parents educate their babies.
Can you educate a baby?
Through play.
Okay, so now here's an interesting case. Did anybody sense a conflict? Conflict between what and what? Shout it out.
Well, there was the thing you said, and then you said the thing that you wanted to say.
Right, but what's the conflict between?
Intellectual conception and intent.
Right, I think so. And by the way, just so you know, that's a left brain summary, okay, of the situation. It was between intellectual this and non-intellectual that. It's between play and educate. Right, her battle is between the issue about playing and educating. Right? Which one do you want to say?
Both. I want to say educate because I'm an educator, but it doesn't come across. I feel like people will react badly because they don't understand what I mean.
I was thinking that maybe you were feeling that just to help parents play with their babies was not enough. So the play sounds fun, but you were saying that education wouldn't be enough. I'm thinking it feels to me like you're saying play wouldn't be enough.
Play would not be enough.
Why not?
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
Wait a minute. What did she do?
I believe play would not be enough.
Do you believe that?
I believe play would not be enough for me or for the parents, yeah. Because there's a lot of ways to play with the baby, but I'm trying to get them to play in a way that is educational.
I'm trying to get them to play in a way that is educational.
Yes.
Why?
Because I believe that babies deserve that opportunity to have toys that meet them at their stage of development. So they're trying to learn something. We should give them toys that help them learn.
I want to see if you see. So I see conflict. I can't quite figure it out right now.
It sounds like your intention is you want to do something for the babies, and you keep talking about the parents. Like you wanted to help the babies have this opportunity, help them grow, help them do this, but you're afraid the parents might not buy the message or the way that you're explaining what's a benefit to the babies.
I can't get to the babies directly.
Right.
They're not big
But is that right?
I wish I could.
Is that conflict correct? Okay. How many people picked up on that issue? Okay. I want to say this because you can see this stuff really easily in someone who might be your teammate. And if you can help to resolve or help them resolve, help get to truth on these things, you will release energy in your team. So I intend to help people build a team. A good way to do that is to relieve some of these things that slow it down. So here's another simple concept. A simple concept of who are your people? Who do you love? You can't give me both, okay? So is it the parents? Is it the babies?
It's the babies.
It's the babies.
Yeah.
Okay, right, it's the babies. Okay, so what I would argue is that in your mind, for a while, you need to forget about the parents.
Okay.
I'm serious. And that when you don't forget about the parents, you get hamstrung. And you get these. Now you can say, well, what does a baby want? Well, you know what? If it's fun, the baby will want it. You know, and if it's exciting and interesting, the baby will want it, and then the parents will want it.
That's true.
Right? So now, I'm throwing a lot of techniques out at you here, but this video will be available, right? So you can watch it. So the next technique is about language. Have any of you ever listened to Click and Clack, Tappet Brothers? Any of you ever listened to the Puzzler? Anybody listen to the Puzzlers? You do? Yeah, not too many? Okay. But anyway, in the Puzzler, they put things in to confuse you. They even use big words, which is they're going to obfuscate the thing. They put all this stuff in there that's not relevant, that keeps you away from the actual problem at hand. And much like them, we do that. And I have a really simple technique for getting rid of it. And it's going to make your life a lot easier. I believe it will make your life a lot easier. And here it is. You can't use big words.
Okay.
Okay? Educate is a big word. You can't use any words that a first grader wouldn't use. Would a first grader ever use the word educate?
No.
No. Good. We're in sync. All right? So now, when you're talking about intention, you say, I intend to help people. What comes after that can have all these fancy words. That's fine. It's just then take them out. So just take that same statement and then say, okay, you can't use educate. And what will happen is eventually you'll get to something that a first grader will understand, you understand, and it turns out that's it.
Can I try again?
Yeah, go ahead. I intend to help people.
I intend to help babies learn through play.
Okay. So learn through play. Okay, so now you must have some beliefs around learning through play.
I do.
So I believe that.
I believe that the best way to learn is through playing.
Okay, cool. Keep going. Keep going. I believe that.
I believe that children should learn that learning is fun.
Okay,
so they continue to learn.
Okay, that's like 3 things. So,
okay.
So go ahead. So say them one at a time.
I believe that children have to learn. What did I say?
Okay, do you notice this have to stuff? That's from the head
yes.
stuff.
I believe that children should.
No shoulds.
I believe that children will have fun when they will. I don't know.
You do know.
Okay.
What's happening is your head is jumping in there. Your left brain is saying, I haven't done anything for the last 22 microseconds. I want to be in this. She's talking without me. Right? And just throws in, should, this, blah, this. Right.
I believe that children will learn best when they're playing.
There you go. Keep going.
I believe that.
What are you thinking?
I believe that if we give children the right toys, they will play and learn at the same time.
There you go. All right, so what I'm going to ask you to do is write the stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
These are truths. They're just simple truths. All right? And by the way, your other team members may have different truths. They may even conflict. It doesn't matter. These are truths for you. So what we did here is and so let's do the I intend to help people. I intend to help babies learn through play. Okay. So I actually think that is still partially from the head. Okay. Because the problem we have is that when we have an invention, we tend to just talk from there. Mm-hmm. So learning through play is the thing. There's an intention, like, okay, can I just poke on you on this
Sure.
one? By the way, if they could learn other ways, would you be against that?
I mean, I don't think they should be learning through flashcards or like that teach your baby to read program.
So the only way to teach them to learn, have them learn, is through play.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so say that. I believe.
Not necessarily through my toys, but
So
yeah.
I want to hear. So say, I believe that.
I believe that the only way for babies to learn is through play.
You believe that?
No, they could probably learn the other ways, but they're just not as good.
So that's another technique, by the way. Is when somebody says, I believe that, just say, do you believe that? And very often, you say it nicely, and there's a lot of times they don't even believe it when they're saying it. Okay, so there's a bunch of concepts we have here. One is the I believe that, and getting to truth on the positive side of belief. We got the other thing about getting to truth on the negative side of belief, which is that doesn't feel right to me. All right? Then you've got I intend to help people, and finishing that sentence in the words of a first grader, because that is really timeless truth, timeless words. Those are human words. First graders, I believe, use human words. When's the last time you heard a first grader saying, my microprocessor is not performing as fast as I would like it? Whereas they might have a smartphone and say, it's not working. All right, so you were released.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. All right. Where should we go from here? Who's got questions? Yeah.
It was very fun because I also do startups. And I heard people like the lady has kind of dig out their deep thought about the startups things, and also about the belief stuff. Do you think that or a startup's idea actually comes from someone's belief only?
That the idea comes from their belief only?
Yeah.
Okay, so is that the question? Do you believe that the idea comes from their belief only?
Yeah, because when you do this exercise, it makes me feel like actually the most important thing for a startup is like the founder's belief that
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is an interesting question. Do you believe that the founder's belief is what causes the invention? And what I would say is kind of. So I think that beliefs are supportive. So like if you see a plant growing, can you say, is it that perfect soil that's making that plant grow? It would grow somewhere else, right? I didn't have to be like perfect soil, right? I actually think that the beliefs that a founder has orient them in a way that lets them invent. So, for example, when I was doing Avid, what I had that I knew how to do was I had helped get this parallax graphics board made, and it was a very advanced graphics board. It took so much power in a PC chassis that you had to have a separate power supply feeding power in just to do that. And then, of course, the thing would melt down because it was so hot. And so then they needed bigger fans and so forth. But it had what was very unusual in those days, a 2K by 1K screen, or frame buffer, which today is HD frame buffer, which was unheard of back then. And you could see 1280 by 1024. The other parts you couldn't see. And the insight I had of how to make an Avid, what became an Avid, was the idea that we could put pictures in memory that was not seen. And because they were on the card already, that perhaps we could move them fast enough off the screen to on the screen to make them move, to make video happen. So I got an engineer to program this thing in this card. And sure enough, we were able to digitize the Star Wars movie and make these little strips in the hidden memory. And we were able to play it back as motion video, the picture this big. That's all I had when I started Avid, was that. And I believed that was enough. So does that lead to my invention? No, I don't think it leads to my invention, but does it set me up to be willing to go and do this? Yes. If I didn't have that, would I have maybe not started Avid? Maybe not. That might have been the thing that got me over the edge. When I saw that Star Wars stuff playing, I was like, I have to have this.
Just in relation to that, how healthy it is to have these doubts whether something will go through the way you plan for it. Because I keep hearing from inventors that you should disregard everybody or every voice or every no engine until you complete whatever you want to complete.
Okay, so there's a big difference of how one should treat other people's doubts versus how you should treat your own doubts. And also, if your doubt is, that doesn't feel right to me, my belief is you pay attention to that and, talk about it. You might be able to work through it. It might be only one little piece that was wrong. So you just made a big bubble. Let's look at what's in the bubble, okay? One is your own feelings that something isn't right. That's one thing. I believe you got to really go after that, talk about it, work through it. The other is somebody else's doubts about what you're doing. So when we started making the Avid, people very correctly were able to analyze our picture quality, and they were able to come up with an analysis which was, it sucks. They're tiny little pictures, and you can barely tell what's going on. Like if there's a wide shot of two people, you barely could even recognize who they are, whether one's male or female, whether they're talking or not talking. And that was what we were going to go to market with, was that picture quality. And we did, with that picture quality. A lot of people said, no one can use this. And I said, I believe we'll find someone who can. And I had this belief that speed is everything. And yes, crappy video, but it's going to be so fast. And just to give you an idea, when we showed demos, I don't know if you ever heard of these guys, the Lumiere brothers. They invented film. And when they showed film in Paris, in a little theater that they had, and they had a train coming at people, people like you dove under their chairs because they could not tell the difference between a real train and one of those trains because they never saw anything on a screen before. All right. When we showed Avid and we showed it editing, literally people jumped when it would play the instant you made the edit. They just couldn't believe it. And they're like, show me that again. You know, let's change it. It was so fast. And it turns out that there was a group that had very short programs, never had wide shots, and loved speed, and loved to change their mind 1,000,000 times. TV commercials. We owned it. We went out, we owned the entire United States TV commercial editing, and then we owned Japan, and then we owned Europe. We owned the whole world on TV commercials. And most of it with that. It was really fun. So beliefs are a part of it. I actually believe that there is an element that's a little bit of magic. And the magic comes from intention. So if I say, I intend to help people build a team, part of why I'm focused in this session on a lot of these techniques is because I believe these are team building techniques. I believe these techniques reduce the noise and increase the signal, and they lead to better teamwork. So it's part of why I get excited about it. But the intention, I believe, is what leads you to invent. You come up with all kinds of new things. And that's not belief. Belief kind of puts you in the right mindset. But it's intention, which I think is more your DNA, more your ability. And the inventions that you come up with, you know, the idea of say, I believe that. That's an invention. It may not, you don't patent it, but I believe that almost every word you say is actually an invention that's meant to fulfill intention and is based around belief. Now, I believe we live in a world that actually worships invention. Most of the time, people get up and they want to talk about what. What are they doing? When somebody asks you about your startup, they ask you, what are you doing? And the interesting thing about inventions and about what is that what I've found is they are a tremendous source of conflict. Because when you get together in a meeting and you have different ideas, different inventions, and you're trying to get them fit together, what happens?
Different ideas, different inventions.
You were nodding when I was going, so I figured I'd go to you.
Yeah, you'll come up with something better. Everybody has different ideas, and then you bounce it off and create something that's even better.
Is that what happens? Well, it doesn't work. You have to flip it to on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So what happens? You get everybody together. They all got different ideas.
Well, I was thinking that, well, I believe that you would get something even better if you are able to articulate it and just get it out, that something, a better product can come out of it. If everybody has different ideas, if everybody's on the same page, then you're going to get groupthink, and you might think that it's really good, but it might not even be that good.
Right, groupthink. All right, so let's talk groupthink. All right. Somebody else tell me about your startup. Is anyone here that has a team here? Multiple people? No? All right. Well, here, come on up. And is this Google Glass? What is it? Is like, are you part of the NSA or
No.
no? All right.
Not that I know of.
No. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. All right. Okay. So you have a startup.
Yes.
Go ahead. Talk about it.
So we're Flight Now, and we help people experience the world in a new way. So has anyone here flown in a small plane before, like a 2 or 4 seater? All right. How'd you like it?
Fine.
It's awesome, right? So for everyone else, it's really hard to get into. You have to either know a pilot or go on an expensive discovery flight. There's no real easy way into it. So what we found is that there's pilots like myself who go flying all the time, and we've got empty seats in the back. So why not pair some of the people who want to get that experience with the people who are already going?
All right. Well done. I think that you opened in an interesting way. Does anybody remember what his open was? Can it, what? Well, he might have, but there was something when he actually got into what he was doing. Do you remember what he said? Anybody? Yeah?
You asked if anyone had been on a plane before.
That what?
He asked if anyone had been on a private plane.
Oh, okay, this was before that. Do you remember?
Said we help people experience the world in a new way.
Right, he did. Now, what's interesting, that's actually unusual in a startup. Usually, people open with what they do. All right, so I actually was hoping to get someone who would do that, but he didn't. No, it's good. What he actually did was he actually went pretty much right to intention. Basically, this is the intention of the company, is to help people experience the world in a new way. He didn't even say flying. He went to that later. And okay, so now, and this is a quiz to see whether you remember what I said before. When we talk about intention, what's the thing we got to do about the words?
I believe that.
No, that's I believe. We're going to do intention. I intend to help people.
Oh, I intend to help people experience the world in a new way.
Okay. And what do we have to take out of that?
Anything
the word
that
experience.
The word experience.
What? Is this too complicated, right?
I intend to help people see the world in a new way.
Okay. Right. So you see how simple it was to take out experience and put in a basic human word, see. Okay. So, and did you sense that a feeling more power like comes out? Isn't that kind of? I think it's kind of magical that you get rid of this big fancy left brain knowledge or left brain words and use the right brain, human, simple, timeless words. And then, you know, you could have that intention 1,000 years ago. You probably wouldn't be showing them airplanes, but you might have them climb a hill, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. So now, and what's the and? All right. So I want to switch gears to another thing. You can stay here, but I want to go back to your bubble of stuff. We had internal issue of it doesn't feel right to me. We have external issue of somebody doubting. I want to go to another internal issue, which is a different form of belief. It's a particularly insidious belief that can be, I believe, quite toxic. And that's a form of belief known as a fear, which I think is a very special belief. And so for one thing, fears don't like discussion. They don't want to be discussed, in part because I think that when a fear is discussed, it actually loses energy very quickly. And what I encourage you to do, there's somebody who's written this, I don't even know who, he basically said, don't bother talking about goals. Just talk about your fears. Because the goals, you'll get there. You know, that's not the problem. The problem is the fears that you have will either give you exactly the thing that you're fearing or the opposite. And the opposite is pretty much the same thing anyway. You know, so like if you're somebody who might get angry, you know, your fear would be, you know, that you get angry, so you never get angry, you know, is one thing. Or you actually hold it in so much then you blow up anyway. So, but if you notice what happened when you took out that word experience and put in C. I've also seen that when people actually talk about what they're afraid of, it releases energy tremendously because you've been scared of it, and then you talk about it, and you go like, you know, that's really not so fearsome anyway. Now, so I do this. In fact, I recently did a session with 2 entrepreneurs, and when they wrote back to me about it later, they called it founder therapy, and they said, thank you for the founder therapy. So I'm afraid of doing that here because it's such a big group. Should I do it? I don't know. Yeah? All right. Well, I just said one. I was afraid of doing it because it's such a big group. I only did it with a small group. But is there anything somebody's afraid of that they're willing to say? Maybe in the sense that it might become less fearsome. Fear. Fear. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
I'm afraid to quit my job and pursue my startup full time.
Okay. Wait, keep the mic. Why?
Because my full-time job guarantees health insurance, steady paycheck, and my startup is it's an idea, something that I'm very passionate about. I think I have a certain level of affirmation by way of the venture incubation program. However, I don't have enough to say that this is something that I should kind of do full-time.
So it's interesting. Is it a fear or is it a belief? Because you might say, I believe I'm not ready to quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
So a fear usually is sort of like, it's like really holding you back. It's like, clamping you down, but you're really more ready to go. So is it a belief or is it a fear?
I mean, up until now, it's been a fear. I believed it to be a fear, but now that you're kind of pushing me to think about it, I'm not sure. I think I don't know.
Well, so here's the thing that I can say that is a difference between a fear and a belief. A fear really, really doesn't want you to talk about it. And really, whenever you kind of like, your mind goes to it, your energy just sinks. So does it do that?
Yeah.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so now here's another thing is when you're looking at a fear, then look at, well, what's the worst that could happen? So like, let's say you did quit your job, and let's say, then what? And so think of the worst thing.
I mean, the worst thing would be for the startup not to actually launch and not generate revenue, and so that would be the biggest.
And what's your chances of getting a new job or?
Oh, that's fine. I mean,
no problem?
No problem.
Okay, so then what's really the fear?
Well, I'll give my resignation tomorrow. No, I'm joking. No, I'm just joking. But I don't know. I guess it's something to think about.
Yeah. So I mean, but you see the nature of these things, that they look so scary, and then you're like, I don't know. Maybe I could leave. Maybe I won't. I don't know. It's a decision.
Yeah.
Right. So, so you take something that was a fear and you put it into something that's more of a decision about when it feels right to do that. All right? Anybody else got one? Yeah? Okay.
My fear is that I have too many interests to focus on one project, and perhaps the interests are too big in scale to implement right away.
All right. So yeah, talk to me, not to him. He's.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Don't worry. Yeah. All right, but okay. So what's one of your big interests?
Climate change.
Climate change. Okay. All right. So that's the whole planet, right?
More or less. More or less.
And but you're not worried about other planets?
Not yet.
Or the moon?
Just a little.
Oh, you're worried about the moon.
Given the proximity to Earth, who knows how inventive we will be.
Okay. There is a lot of trash on the moon.
What ways?
Now.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Plastic seems to have traveled pretty far, so
Right, okay.
and other debris. I'm
There's
sure.
trash in space too.
Oh, well, there's a project.
Yep. All right, what else? So what other projects do you think about that?
Sure. Income disparity in globally. That has been shown to be a very negative effect on overall growth in the global economy, is just the income disparity, which I think we can tackle through education, but that's also pretty big.
So are there, do you ever get anything done?
I think that's why currently I work for the government. I'm a community organizer, so right
you must
now,
get something done.
yeah, making sure the right people talk to each other and services are utilized. But having started off in the tech field, there is an excitement to having very numbers-driven activity. So.
All right, so why don't you come up here?
Oh man.
No, stay. You comfortable? You want something to drink? All right. Okay, so you said something. Let me see if I can say it. You said essentially. Well, I won't say it right, but it's something along the lines of, "I'm afraid I'm going to take on such big things that I can't do anything."
Where to start, really?
Where to start?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so say it again. So say your fear in a simple way.
So my fear is not knowing where to start, because what I want to do is so large in scale.
Okay. All right. So there's a couple of things I think that are important here. And okay, so let's talk superheroes. All right, who has a favorite superhero? Anybody? Superhero? Anybody?
Wonder Woman.
What? Who?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Okay. Wonder Woman. Who else? Iron Man. Who else? Who do we got? Superheroes. I need more than two. Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Okay. All right. So now, what was Wonder Woman's superpowers?
Oh, jeez. Her lasso? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember. So Spider-Man had the spider thing, right? Pretty much it, and strength. Okay, and let's talk Superman, because I grew up with Superman. All right, he had X-ray vision, which was kind of techie, and he could use it to melt things and cut through things and see stuff. And he could fly anywhere, and he had all this strength, and he could go into space and all that. So now, let's have a contest. And we're going to take one of ours, and we're going to put him up against one of the superheroes. And let's look at who's going to win. So first of all, let's say we're going to put a mortal up against a superhero. Just on the surface, who's going to win? Superhero, right. Fine. Okay, here we go. Superman versus Gandhi. Who's going to really win?
Well, win in what sense? Win in, power, or win in, peace?
The ability to change the world. The ability, not in arm wrestling. It's not like Gandhi versus Superman. It's like Christopher Reeves gets there. Come on, Gandhi. I'm going to take you. No, but in changing the world, in making a difference. What?
It's not fair.
What's not fair?
It's not fair because we're picking up on a successful example, and we know that Gandhi.
Oh, I had the ability to pick.
Right, but if you pick somebody who is a hopeful to accomplish something, then it might be a little bit more fair.
Yeah, the average schlub on the street versus Superman. All right, I guess I might take Superman, maybe, but okay, I'll maybe. I think I might, with a little work, be able to still win this one. But we'll go with Superman on that one. But I'm telling you, I think we go with Gandhi, that a human can beat a superhero, and the reason is this, and I think it's really cool, which is that people really do have superpowers. People really do. So there's a burning building. There's a bunch of people looking at the burning building. there's a 5-year-old girl comes to the window screaming. Most of the people stand there. One of them runs in the building, runs through the fire, gets the kid, runs out, TV cameras go in there, you're a hero, you're a hero. What do they say? Do they ever, ever, ever say, yes, I'm a hero? They never do. Why? They don't think about it. Why did that person have the ability to run into a burning building when the other people didn't? Why? Why? Have you thought about it? Why could that person do it? We might look at it and say, they're braver than me, I could never do it. But the fact is, there's something you could do that they could never do. And in that crowd of people, basically whatever has to happen, there's someone who can do. And that's part of what makes the world an amazing place. And each of you have these superpowers. And my belief is that when your intention gets triggered, when you have the ability to help people and it gets triggered, it really is a superpower. And when that I intend to help people something is really happening, there's all kinds of, you might call it magic, but I actually think that however you believe humans got to be here, I think they're pretty well engineered, either by natural selection or somebody designed them on CAD and popped them out of the ultimate 3D printer. Or however it happened, I'm not going to try to answer that. But I would say that there are all kinds of mechanisms that cause us to be able to do essentially superhuman things all the time. And therefore, what was your name? What?
Nadia.
Nadia. So therefore, that regular guy on the street, we don't know what situation's going to trigger him on his superpowers. And it's there. And that's what I think is part of what makes entrepreneurship so exciting, is that you actually are putting yourself into a situation, I think if you really are doing it more from the heart and not so much from the head. That guy who ran in the burning building didn't make a lot of calculations, didn't use a lot of logic, but he probably did believe he was going to survive. He probably didn't look at that and say, I'm going to get halfway in, I'm going to die. And then the girl's going to die anyway. I don't think that's, he probably figured he could run fast enough to get in and get her and get out. That's that sort of instinct. So you're trying to be a left-brain superhero. You got all this logic. You want to save the world. You want to what do they call it when you put the carbon back into the ground? It's sequestration. Isn't that a great word? Right? You want to do carbon sequestration?
I think it's going to be very complex and require multiple partnerships between government and the private party, but that's very left brain.
Okay. So try this. I intend to help people.
I intend to help people.
And say the rest of it. So I intend to help people.
Work together to...
No, you got to say the whole thing.
Oh, I intend to help people work together to...
So here's the thing. Don't worry about finishing that. Just say, I intend to help people work together. Just say that. Say that.
I intend to help people work together.
Good. Have any ideas how to do that?
Many.
Here you go. Okay. Give me a little one.
Public-private partnerships.
Okay. That sounds... Give me a really little one. Give me one right now that you can do. Right here in this room. That will work in the next 8 seconds.
I guess challenge everyone here to write to their Congress members.
All right, so I'm going to push you on that in a second. I intend to help people tell their story.
I intend...
No, wait, I'm just saying that. That's me. I intend to help people tell their story. Where were you born?
Illinois.
That took about 2 seconds. That was an invention. I got him to start telling his story, Illinois. All right? It's a simple little invention. You say, I intend to help people work together. I want you to think of things that are incredibly simple. What?
at a loss.
Get them to help me with this talk. You don't have to do it this second. Just stay there. I want you to get an idea that as I'm going along, I want you to pop up and say, hey, do this, or how about this, or whatever. That's going to work instantly about working together. Okay? I just want you to be on the lookout for a simple work together. Can you do that? All right? Okay, so I want to keep going. Questions? Questions, yeah.
Do you think when we're trying to
Can I
build
get
it?
more water? Abby, can I get?
Do you think that when we're trying to build a team, I'm a team of one right now, and hiring, we should be looking for people who believe this in these statements as much as we do, or?
Absolutely not. I don't believe that, because I believe that diversity is more valuable than sameness. And in fact, that gets me, ooh, you got a new bottle of water. Thank you. All right, so how many of you have ever heard of or used a Venn diagram? Venn diagram. Any of you? Okay. So when you think of that Venn diagram, what's the best part of the Venn diagram? What's the part that you're always going after? What is it?
One right in the middle.
It's in the middle. And what does it represent?
The intersection of the three sets.
It's the intersection.
Yeah.
And so although Venn never talked about whether intersections or sums were better, it seems like that Venn guy is probably turning over in his grave, you know, that all they get is that intersection thing. And why are we so enamored with that intersection thing? It's where it's what? It's where the magic happens. And what's the magic at that intersection? There is a form of magic. What's the magic? Agreement. We all agree. Is that magic? By the way, how did we get to agreeing? What was the process by which we got to that beloved agreement? What did we do? What did we do?
Let go of anything that makes you disagree with, of fears, of differences, of prejudice, of stereotypes.
So, okay, but you're right. We subtracted stuff, but we pretty much subtracted everything that we didn't agree on, right? So we got to only that which we agree on. All right. So we're enamored with that, right? That sort of thing. Okay, here's another thing. Picture one of those 8-person rowing sculls. And they have that little person called the coxswain, right? That sits there and goes, row, row, right? Why do they do that? Why do they do that? What?
So they could row together.
They row together. And what happens if they don't row together?
Slow down. They
go too slow. They lose, right? We love that stuff, right? It's like, hey, you put everybody in, you row in perfect synchrony, and you win. Now, by the way, what if I said, oh, I got an idea. I'm going to put 8 people in that can just row their hearts out like crazy, and they'll win. We don't need any coxswain. Would that be okay?
They won't be as coordinated. So.
But what if I said I've got this sort of new boat, and I can put them in there, and they'll win every time. They'll blow these people away. And they're all completely uncoordinated, and they don't have a coxswain. Would you bet on them? You wouldn't?
I believe that's an interesting idea.
Right, right. All right, this is a watch. Inside the watch, there's tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. There's all these things that go around, right? The hands go around. We love this stuff, right? It's a watch mechanism. It's like made by the Swiss. You know, it like works perfectly, and it keeps time. It's all like really synchronized and accurate. Okay? Now, any of you into nature here? Anybody into like, you know, anybody like go out into nature? Where do you go? What do you do?
Outside my lake house.
What? You have a lake house?
Yeah, walk
around. All right. Anybody like go out into like the wilds anywhere? Jungles? Do you go where?
Well, I've been different parts of Alaska.
Yeah, okay. So when you go out into the wild, do you see any of these like watch mechanisms? Does nature do this stuff?
I don't think they really need to function.
Oh, nature doesn't need to.
They have their
Well,
own.
hasn't anyone told nature about clock watches and and synchronized rowing and all that stuff? Hasn't anybody told
I
them?
don't think so.
No, and it still seems to work?
Seems to work.
Well, like you can just throw like anything you want in there, like throw an animal in there and throw a tree in there. And
Well, I wouldn't run in front of a bear anytime soon. But
Right. But do you get where I'm going? That like, you don't really have to have this like synchronized, coordinated world. You can have sort of a more random world. And in nature, that random world just like adds up just fine. All right, look at the lights in this room. There's a lot of lights in the ceiling. Are they working together? Are they synchronized? Did anybody like make sure they were aligned when they put them in? Bob, you better align those lights or you won't get anything. In fact, there'll be no light if the rooms are not, if they're not properly aligned. That's not how it works. You put more light, more light in, you get more light. More light bulbs, more light. But with people, you start wanting to Venn diagram them. You take people and you go, well, you don't agree with that, and you don't agree with that, and you don't agree with that, so let's take it away. Okay, so I will use a first grade word on this thing. I think it's stupid. Why would you want to subtract when you can add? So, has anyone ever planned a party? Have you used a Venn diagram when you planned the party? Let's see, do you like wine? Do you like beer? Do you like this? Soft drink, water? Let's see. The only thing we can agree on here is light beer. So that's the only thing we're going to have in this party is light beer. No, you don't do that. The way you go about a party is additive. The way that nature goes about its party is additive. Well, why not do that with your startup? Why not play the additive game rather than the subtractive game? Well, you know what I see? Is people go, oh, a subtractive game is the real game. That's the way you really do it. You get together and you figure out what you agree on. And then you go and you say, we this, we that, we this, we that. And we all agree. That's what we're going to do. And that's what investors want. We. Yes? Yes? No? Who can comment? Come on, Andrew, you've been quiet. Andrew and I go way back.
You've got no diversity. So the vive la différence, the interaction of from diverse points of view is where you get creative insights, where you break out of routines, you get a new way to look at things. You have replicants of yourself, you're not going to get anywhere.
Okay, but then why doesn't that happen all the time? If that's so wonderful, why doesn't that just happen naturally?
I think there's fear there.
What?
I think there's fear there.
What's the fear?
I think probably fear of chaos or fear of how we're going to move forward as a group or how we're going to make progress if everyone doesn't agree.
Right.
You know, agreement is thought to be
That's
primary.
very interesting. So it's what do you do? So what's the substitute for this a priori sense of agreement? Any ideas? Any ideas? How could you do it? You have to design this because this is a new technique for startups and maybe you're going to use it. So what would you do?
I feel like there's actually sort of a continuum here, like where chaos works, but only if it's within a certain kind of structure. So like in your example of nature, there is a clockwork. There's the sun, which heats and cools, and Earth spinning, and there's the moon, and there's then the tides, and so within that there can be chaos. Or for instance, if you're too close to the sun and Mercury, you can't have life because there's too much chaos. If you're in Jupiter, you can't have life because there's not enough. And the band is very small.
That's a really nice, very well put. Are you a philosopher? No, but yeah. But so I would agree. That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about the fear of chaos thing, but I think that is true. And I think what you're saying is that you need a structure within which you can have this.
It's like jazz. Also, you have to they start with they call it the chart,
Right.
which is the general outline of the song, but within that everybody improvises.
Within jazz.
Yeah. But they're not really just playing absolutely anything. They have boundaries.
So I would like to propose what those boundaries look like in a team meeting. so that you can have this ability to have what looks initially like chaos, but then moves towards something that is actually much better than chaos. So a few things. One is to recognize that you're not going to play a subtractive game, that you're not going to do the Venn diagram, that you're not going to say, everybody's going to have to lose a lot. You're going to have to lose a lot of stuff you really care about. It's going to be gone. We're not going to do it. It's going to be gone. You're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We're not. There's going to be a boatload of stuff we're not going to do. What I'm saying is, stop saying that. Because I don't believe you need to say that. In fact, I think that all that you do by saying that is that you sort of ensure that you lose that stuff. But you don't really ensure the alternative is not so great. So what you say is, hey, let's not subtract. Let's just relax and say, this can all add up. The way that I believe you can get it to add up is to go into different realms where addition is natural. In nature, addition is natural. Because there is the sun and the moon and the tides and the water and the lakes and all those things essentially make the addition work. And don't cause any real subtractive kind of techniques. I believe you can create those by, first of all, saying, relax, we don't have to subtract. We don't have to agree. We don't have to drop stuff off. We don't have to do that. Okay, everybody get there. Secondly, go to realms that are additive. One realm that's additive is I believe that. If you say I believe that, it doesn't matter that he believes the opposite. Now you know there's two people that have two different beliefs. You're probably representative of the world in some way. That's good. It's additive. When you're in the I believe that space, it's additive. So go around, and what technique I like is ask people to say I believe that and have them keep going until they run out. Then go to the next one. I believe that. The other people, write it down. You just say I believe that. Don't challenge it. Don't ask it. Don't anything it. Just I believe that. Get that out. Cool thing is, you're in a space that adds. Next level up is intention. I intend to help people. It's also an additive space. I intend to help people tell their story. I intend to help people feel closer together. I intend to help people see the simplicity in life. I love it when you can say something is either A or B, and the world divides into those two things. I love that. I find it useful. I believe intentions add up. So you say that you get people to talk around intention. And then, when you've been at belief, you've been at intention, then you can look at inventing. And you can say, here's an idea. Here's something. And then you can be talking about it in terms of my own intention. You can talk about your own beliefs. And you'll find other people can invent and help you on your intention. Other people can invent and help you on your beliefs. And now you're in an additive world. You started out by saying, let's not subtract. You then said, let's add. The place to add, beliefs, intentions. The world of inventions, of what you're going to do, is generally not additive. But if you get there from those other two, you'll find it's a whole lot more additive. And you can get to remarkably so, to the point where you have inventions, and those four people in the room are like, I got everything I wanted and more. I never could have believed I could have had that much. It's incredible. You can get there. That's the other form of the Venn diagram, where you get everything that's in it, and it's bigger than what you see. These are two different ways to think about things, two different ways to go about your work. And I want to close on this idea of the simplicity, that I intend to help people see the simplicity in life. I believe that startups fall pretty clearly into two categories. One category is about problem solving, that fundamentally the startup, the company, is about solving a problem. And I believe that most investors today are looking for that. Tell me the problem it solves. There's another type of startup, which I think can be equally or more successful, which is about creating joy. And I think it's very important that you recognize in your startup which it is, because I think the techniques are very different, especially if you are a company that really fundamentally is about creating joy, and yet every day you're using the techniques that are tried and true for solving problems.
Can you do both?
Yes, you do.
Solving the problem bring you joy?
Well, okay, I think one has to dominate the other. One is the core. All right, so Disney is about, I think, joy. Does Disney solve problems? Yes, you kids go to the movie and you get some time off. You know, I mean, that's a problem. It solves a problem. But actually, I've been thinking about this a lot, which is, does relieving a pain or solving a problem, does that bring joy? And my belief is no. But then what I realized is that, well, what if your child was dying of cancer and somebody could cure that? That would certainly give you some joy. So my test for this is, what if it happened every day? Would that be a joyful thing? And I would argue that if your kid was saved from cancer every day, actually after a while you would feel burdened by it. I mean, not that you don't want the kids to be saved, but the first time they're saved, I think you would feel the joy. But the 100th time, you would more feel the vulnerability that you have in the world, and it wouldn't be the same thing. I think problem solving is problem solving, and you feel nice that you've solved a problem and the people are happy. But the interesting thing about problem solving is that it kind of goes from 0 to 1. In other words, 1 means you solve the problem. You can't go above 1. You can't make more solve the problem. And what's interesting is that problem solving companies have a harder time in the additive nature, because going and doing a lot of problem solving, you don't know whether the person has those problems. You know, so if you solve one problem, you don't know if they have another problem that you can solve also. So joy or problem solving? Joy. Joy.
Joy as well.
Joy as well. And we had babies. Where's the baby person? Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah. Joy or problem solving? Oh, she's debating.
Joy for the baby, problem solving for the parent. But you told me not to think about the parent.
Okay, and here's something I would say is to think about who are your people, and basically, as a founder of the company, so like here's an interesting thing: who are your people? Is it the pilots, or is it the passengers?
It's really about the passengers who've never been able to do that.
Those are your people. Right. The ones who haven't had the experience. Your people are the babies. Well, they are, right?
Yeah, but they're not buying it.
What? Yeah, that doesn't matter. And by the way, especially on joy-based products, you very often have somebody else that's buying it.
That's true.
And my argument is, if you can design your business so that they're buying it for other joy, then you get a multiple intention flow thing, which is what I call a co-flow, where the center flow, which is the joy of the child, is added to by the joy of the parent, and you get something that is very, very additive. So, have you figured out your quick help people work together?
Be vulnerable.
You have some way to do that?
Tell each other what makes you feel vulnerable. A small thing every day.
Well,
I don't know.
Can we try it without the word vulnerable? It's such a fancy word.
What makes you feel less? Since we're talking about subtractive and additive, what makes you feel like, you know, everyone has a situation where they feel a bit like they're not as good.
All right. So there's an example of something that they could do, right, which would not take long. Right?
And share that with each other. I guess that's
asking
a lot. I'm sorry.
You may or may not try it right now, but it's it's doable, right? It's a small thing.
Right.
It's just some little thing that you asked. So, so my belief is that there is there are multiple worlds in front of you at the same time. You can look at the world the way you've been taught to look at the world, to look at it in terms of more of a problem-solving world, more of a mode that tends to be subtractive, more that is about agreement. And alternatively, you can look at the world in a way that brings you together in a way that you can use techniques to add up what you're doing, to work with each other in different ways. And it's that, and in some of your companies, really to deliver joy through these techniques. And that's what I love doing, which is helping people, build their startup from the heart. So thank you for coming.